Prairie Visions is a professional development workshop in arts integration. The week-long institute serves educators from the states of Nebraska and Iowa. In its 23 years, Prairie Visions has served over 2,500 classroom teachers, art specialists, ESL and special education teachers, administrators, counselors, and educators from museums and arts and social service organizations. Prairie Visions has always emphasized taking art education theory into practice through modeling experiential, thematic, multicultural curriculum. Participants work in small groups facilitated by experienced faculty leaders and engage in a variety of learning activities with professional artists in visual arts, drama, storytelling, dance and movement, and music. As an example of performance assessment of arts integration, a group of participants at Prairie Visions analyzed Ruben Nakian's Venus at the Sheldon Museum of Art Sculpture Garden in Lincoln, Nebraska, then interpreted the sculpture through poetry and created a dance based on the art and poem.
The blob. Structure. Disturbing. Dark. Emerging. Breathing. Living from the murky depths. Venus.
At Prairie Visions, participants experience networking and collaboration with other educational professionals to gain experience in designing curriculum through the use of theoretical models.
The Prairie Visions class has really excited me as well as my students. They get lots of ideas. One of the things that we've really noticed in the classes, in taking the Prairie Vision class, the integration of all the arts, visual arts, music, dance and movement, poetry, storytelling, all of those things work to make the complete project as far as the students in the classroom. It gets them excited about a variety of different things.
In fact, I really noticed that for some of my struggling learners and the students that aren't necessarily engaged otherwise in things like social studies or English because they don't feel as competent in those areas or as though they're able to excel specifically in that area are really much more engaged when you bring in the arts because it's something they feel like they can do.
And with arts integration, I really see that students become much more interested in the material that I'm teaching. You know, whether it's art through film or through visuals or through music or through interacting with each other. You know, I really see that that positively affects them and they become a lot more interested in the different topics that I have to bring to them.
Well, from the perspective of an elementary educator, one of the most valuable aspects, I think, of the Prairie Visions Conference was really getting the opportunity to work with other teachers as far as art teachers, music teachers, physical education teachers, and having that experience of collaboration and really sharing different ideas of how the students can become engaged learning in and through the arts, and how as an elementary educator I can take that and carry that into teaching basic content within my classroom.
You have that bond with teachers from across the state that you get to work with and see and catch up with, and you have that network that you can always rely on.
In Iowa, currently we're working on a project called the Iowa Core Curriculum. In the 21st Century Skills, we're looking at working as teams, all those things that we have done as participants in the Prairie Visions class. We're able to take those ideas and go back and say, here's how our team worked in this particular setting. How can you help your students to do that, to work in teams and work together to create a product?
But since I've worked on the OPS art staff, or with the OPS art staff for the last 5 years, several of them have come to Prairie Visions in the last few years as well. And they look forward to that camaraderie, they look forward to bringing those lessons back into their classroom, kind of gives them a rejuvenation over the summer and a new way of thinking of how to integrate other disciplines into their classroom, and also because of the community aspects that Prairie Visions has had with Omaha, teachers have taken their students and done more collaboration with community partners as well.
Prairie Visions was instrumental in myself, for me as an instructor, in understanding the rich history in Nebraska and Iowa. Resources available to us as educators that enhances our lessons, which in turn impacts thousands of lives over the years.
It came along just at the right time, but it was one of those times when you knew that if you were going to go on teaching, that you were going to have to find some way to make it feel more like you were getting something accomplished, and Prairie Visions has accomplished that for me. It's a life-changing experience.
To model ways in which public art can be a catalyst for creating community, participants at Prairie Visions, working in small groups, engaged in an original game to create an imaginary community. They then made art, selected art, and designed curriculum for their communities. Assessment has found that Prairie Visions participants adapt the model lessons they experience for their own classrooms.
I used the Creating Our Community game from Prairie Visions, and it's really been very successful in my classroom in terms of creating class community and getting the students comfortable working with each other.
One year, Prairie Visions participants visited the Western Historic Trails Center in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and watched a short introductory video comparing the pioneer's journey to a modern family's trip on the interstate. Each group was then given one of the dioramas which portrayed different aspects of the pioneer's journey. The groups then created their own dioramas portraying a modern-day event. A culminating experience was to create a piggyback song to go along with their sculptures. Assessment has found that a number of teachers adapted this focus on connecting the past with the present to their own classroom curricula.
I did a lesson on connecting past to present, which was one of the Prairie Vision major themes. And here the students used that overall concept to make this history relevant to their lives. They created the parallel of how Sacagawea helped Lewis and Clark cross the Pacific and how their safety patrol helps kids cross the street into safety. And so here's just an example of what they did. The activities we did in the Prairie Visions conference really helped me to develop my curriculum, especially as a new teacher. I found it really beneficial and meaningful to be able to work with people of all different levels, other new teachers, experienced teachers, mentors, and to really brainstorm and share different ideas.
Prairie Visions participants visited the public artwork Sounding Stones by artist Leslie Ewe. They also had the chance to hear Leslie Ewe speak about her work and the public reaction to it.
At the very end, she said, you know, it would be really nice, because the name is Sounding Stones, if someone would write a composition about that piece, or to be performed out in the setting itself. And we sat there and talked about, we have 5 stones. What can we do with 5s? So each team of students developed how they were going to incorporate 5s into their composition. And then they created a composition. They wrote the melody, wrote the harmonies, wrote all the percussion parts and those types of things that were all going to go into it. Then we printed it off and we performed it. Not just once, we got a chance to perform this year at the Iowa Youth Arts Month celebration in Des Moines at the State Historical Society.
As a museum partner in 2009, the Bemis Center for Contemporary Arts hosted a special session for Prairie Visions with internationally known Philadelphia artist Meg Saligman, creator of Omaha's large-scale mural, Fertile Ground.
This is probably one of the first times that we've been able to partner with Prairie Visions in order for us to be able to not only capture that group of audience, but to give us the forum to have this conversation about education. And again, what does it mean when an arts group sort of tries to not only create curriculum, but jump out in the forefront and really start helping to sort of define what it looks like to have curriculum within the public school, and having arts fully integrated into all teaching practices in the classroom.
Is I teach for VSA Arts of Iowa in the summertime. We take arts-related classwork out to the teachers throughout the state of Iowa. And one of the things I've been able to do is take the Prairie Visions ideas and add those into the VSA things. So we're not only impacting the teachers in my school, but out throughout the state of Iowa.
When I was first involved with Prairie Visions, I was a teacher in a small community of about 3,200 people. And I was the art teacher for the community. One of the most amazing things about Prairie Visions and all of the things that have been a part of Prairie Visions, this huge community of artists and art teachers and people from universities and so on, is that it reaches out into all parts of the region. We've had work with Iowa teachers, we've worked with Nebraskans clear across the state of Nebraska. We've had people from China visit us. We've had an extraordinary bunch of experiences, and it has entirely to do with people getting together and caring deeply about what they do, but it also provides support for people who may, in one way or another, feel like they're a little bit isolated, that they are separate somehow from the world. They may have an awful lot of interesting ideas, but they don't know quite how to put them together. So the idea that we all can get together and impact each other over a long period of time is probably as powerful an experience as an educator can have.